हरि ओम। अजं निर्विकल्पं निराकारमेकं निरानन्दमानन्दमद्वैतपूर्णं परं निर्गुणं निर्विशेषं निरीहं परब्रह्मरूपं गणेशं भजेम। परब्रह्मरूपं गणेशं भजेम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। नमस्ते. Team Param Vedanta welcomes each one of you to this 31st session of Bhagavad Gita verse by verse. Friends, yesterday we have celebrated Upakarma, the annual ritual of changing our Yajnopavitam. The three strands of Yajnopavitam represent three Daivas, Matru, Pitru and Acharya. They also represent three Runas, Daivaruna, Rishiruna and Pitruruna. They further represent sacrifice of greed, ego and anger, and also purity of thought, words, and action. The Yajnopavitam reminds the wearer of these debts and commitments always. Yesterday was also the celebration of love between brother and sister. Yes, we celebrated Raksha Bandhan. Raksha Bandhan is a commitment to protect one's sister, family, society, and nation. Each and every festival in our country represents one or the other value derived from our ancient scriptures and carries a message. That is the reason we make it a point to make a mention of these festivals whenever we are in the vicinity. When we celebrate these festivals with understanding, it makes a lot of difference and we will be more committed and determined to do that. These festivals, laced with stories, make our understanding and faith in our scriptures easy and in-depth. With this faith and understanding, let us continue our study of 5th chapter, Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Today, we are going to study verses 13 to 17. Our team of teachers, Dr. Ashwini Divakar, Dr. Raksha Ravishankar, Srimati Mamata Shankar, Srimati Radha Muralidharan, led by Dr. Hegde sir, will help us understand these verses. Youngest ever member of our team, Chiranjeevi Anant, will chant these verses at the end of our session. Before all these, Dr. Satyanarayana will give us a quick recap of our study in the last class. Over to you, Dr. Satya.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Up to 6th verse, Krishna talked about Nishtha Dvayam or Ashrama Dvayam, where he made a comparative study of Grihastha and Sannyasashrama. Grihastha is called Pravritti Marga. It is a life of householder, will have possessions and active lifestyle. Security is a plus point and responsibility is a minus point, where Sannyasashrama is called Nivritti Marga, a life of monk with renunciation and withdrawn lifestyle. Lack of security is a minus point and absence of responsibility is a plus point. Having told this, Krishna told that any ashrama is okay, but Grihastha ashrama is preferable. After this, Krishna talks about sadhana dvayam. Two types of spiritual disciplines which every seeker has to necessarily go through and there is no choice. Karma Yoga is the first stage and Gnana Yoga is the next stage. They should be gradual, one after the other, and there is gradation. It is not a tight compartment. It has dominance difference. Krishna summarizes Karma Yoga sadhana from 7th to 12th verse. After 5.7, the verse 5.7 says that having mastered the body and sense organ, the pure-minded Karma Yogi becomes the Atma, which is self of all living beings. Though acting, he is not affected. A Karma Yogi balances between material pursuits, that is Artha Kama, and spiritual pursuit, that is Dharma Moksha. What I am is important than what I have. Gnana Yogi is one who knows that I am the Atma behind my body and all the bodies. Such Karma Yogis with a purified intellect see God situated in all living beings and behave respectfully towards everyone without attachment. Verse 5, 8 and 9 talks about Gnani's way of life. Gnanam brings about a radical attitudinal change towards the life situation. With purified intellect, they see themselves as separate from the body and hence they do not attribute their bodily action to themselves. They remain situated in the understanding that God is the doer of everything. In this divine consciousness, the Karma Yogis see themselves as mere instruments in the hands of God. Pancha Gnanendriya and Pancha Karmendriya Karmani is attributed to the energy of God. So Gnanam is going from what to so what, because he has the higher I in front of which the lower I is insignificant and negligible. With this Gnanam, he moves from the world dependence to God dependence to self-dependence. What are the conditions which will make karma into Karma Yoga? The 10th verse is very important and beautiful, which tells about that. Next slide, sir. Ishvara Arpana Bhava, where all actions are dedicated to the Lord as an offering, doing it properly, sincerely, and wholeheartedly. And next is Ishvara Prasada Buddhi, accepting the karma phalam without attachment. Such karma will not produce any papam for him. Lotus is born in dirt and rises above it while retaining its beauty and purity. Although the lotus owes its birth, growth, and sustenance to water, the leaf itself does not get wet. Karma Yoga can be at any level. Kaika in physical action, Vachika, Namajapa and Parayanam, and Manasam in meditation and Upasana. The yogis understand that pursuing material desire in the pursuit of happiness is futile, and they renounce selfish desire and perform all their actions for the pleasure of God. When we purify our heart and engage it in devotion of God, it pleases Him more than anything else. Realizing this, the great yogis make purification of their heart as the foremost goal. Our permanent asset is only the purity. How is it to be understood that performing the same action, some people are bound to material bondage, whereas others are released from material bondage? Lord Krishna gives answer in this verse 5:12, where he speaks, those who are unattached and unmotivated by material rewards are never bound by karma. But those craving reward and obsessed with the desire to enjoy material pleasure become entangled in the reactions of work. The reactions of work performed in this consciousness are ayuktas to the samsara or the cycle of life and death. Having talked about Karma Yoga Sadhana, Krishna talks about Jnana Yoga Sadhana, which is the next stage of sadhana, which we will see in today's session. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Satyanarayana, for a nice recap of the verses of the previous class. In particular, I was drawn to attention of that one leaf which with the message, attached to none, but connected to everything. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We are in the important section of the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and you will see that we are dealing with Vidvat Sannyasa once again. It was the same in the 4th chapter. It will be same in the 18th chapter also. And you will see this is the undercurrent throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Whether you are a Grahastha or a Sannyasa, the ultimate flowering of spiritual wisdom is when a person is able to internalize spiritual wisdom, bring it out into action, which is also the same as being anchored in the truth or Nidityasanam. About a year ago, when we were dealing with the summaries of the Bhagavad Gita, I explained this very cryptic verse from Gautama Buddha. According to the Buddhist schools, is one of the very cryptic verses which are difficult to understand. But if you have understood what is Jnana Karma Sannyasa, then these words of this Buddhist sutra will become easy to understand. Let me read the sutra, the English translation. My doctrine, in the original it is Dhamma. My Dhamma is to think the thought that is unthinkable, to practice the deed that is not doing, to speak the speech that is inexpressible, and to be trained in a discipline which is beyond discipline. And then he says, those who understand this are near, and those who are not able to understand this are far. Let us make an effort to understand this important sutra. What do you mean by think the thought that which is unthinkable? If you can think, then how can it be unthinkable? It seems illogical. But Buddha is a master of logic. So there should be it should be logical. It cannot be illogical. Maybe it is supra-logic, but let us see how great masters like Osho help us to understand what do you mean by think the thought without thinking. Now, can I do all my actions without thinking? Just like a mirror is able to reflect things as it is. In Buddhist terminology, there's a word called yatha bhutam, to be able to see things as they are. In our daily life, this is a technique which is called an open eye meditation. Now, so often in our daily life, all our activities are clouded by a constantly racing mind. Even at this moment, can we give a pause? In the sense, can we become aware of the sensations of our body? Can we become aware of our breathing? Can we look at things around us as they are without bringing in any thought? When there is no thought, when there is just seeing, when there is feeling, there is smelling, there is tasting, without bringing in thoughts. This is open eye meditation. Now, in Buddhist exercise, there is a technique called Gamana Vipassana, where Buddhist monks walk. They just walk up, they walk down. They are just aware of the moment. There is no thought brought in. Now, this is to think of the thought that is unthinkable. That means remain as far as possible, even in activity, without thoughts. That is all what we are talking about, jnana, karma, sannyasa, or the law of least effort, or inaction in action. We come to the next step, to practice the deed that is not doing. When I feel that I have to do, when I feel I have to explain all this, then the ego comes in and the ego tries to prove. The ego has a certain agenda. You will see that the best things in life happen, they are not done. Breathing happens. Sleep, have you ever tried to fall asleep? You will never succeed. But sleep happens, love happens, compassion happens. The best things in life happen. So the advice, therefore, by Buddha and great masters is, for some time, can we be a non-doer? That means in the midst of all activity, even as I'm trying to speak, can I consciously waste my time and all your time? And what does it mean? Can I be conscious of the time and just do nothing? Just sit, just be, don't focus. If thoughts come, let it come. Be an observer. This is the whole experience of just being, and which requires a certain amount of training. So we finished with the deed, we finished with thought. What about speech? The same thing, to speak that which is inexpressible. The whole spiritual science of Zen is an expression for that which is inexpressible. Zen has the ability to communicate that which cannot be communicated. Gautama Buddha had said, whatever I can communicate in words, I have spoken. What cannot be communicated, I give this to you, Mahakashyapa. And that was the birth of Zen, where it was a master-student communication without any words. We have that in the Dhyana shlokas of Sri Dakshinamurti, Maunam Vyakhyana. And so often it happens in a master-student satsang. Sometimes it is just a gesture, an expression, a touch, which can communicate so much. And sometimes you feel that whenever you are in satsang, whenever you are in the presence of a master, even a glance can be so loaded. We have this beautiful verse from the Dhyana shlokas, which said, Chitram Vadataram Mule Vriddha Shishya Guru Yuva Gurustu Maunam Vyakhyanam Shishya Tu Chinna Samshaya. You can communicate to a certain extent through words, but then there is a lot of communication that can happen through silence also. And finally, if these things through speech, That means if I can learn to communicate beyond words, if I can learn to communicate or be without thoughts, if I can learn to do actions without actually doing, you will come to the next stage to understand a discipline which is beyond discipline. Normal discipline is because there is a video camera or there is somebody watching me, then I am forced to be disciplined. On the other hand, if I can allow my awareness, my consciousness to be what helps me to be disciplined, that is what is called a discipline beyond discipline, and this is called the discipline of transcendence. So this is the definition of a spiritual person. He thinks the thought that is unthinkable. That means he has very few or no thoughts in day-to-day activity. He practices the deed that is not doing. That means he allowed things to happen, which we will see in the class today. He speaks that which is inexpressible and practices a discipline which is beyond discipline. So again, to reiterate, those who understand this are near, those who are confused are far. So to sum up once again, minimum or no thoughts, only when you need to answer, whenever you need to interact. Otherwise, even if you're listening, listen with an open mind. Let there be no thoughts which are saying good, bad, useful, or not useful. Let my language be one of a loving. Let my language be one of yes. Wherever there is a no, there is always the ego. Learn to be able to communicate in silence and let awareness be your discipline. The opening verse today will be explained by Dr. Ashwini. Over to you, Ashwini.
Thank you, sir. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sarva karmani manasa sannyasyaaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. With the previous verse, Krishna has emphasized the importance of Karma Yoga. A Karma Yogi will have peace of mind due to Jnana Nishta. Jnana Nishta is someone who is anchored in Brahma Vidya. Now, from 13th verse onwards, Krishna talks about Jnana Yoga, which is the next stage after Karma Yoga. Next slide, sir. Jnana Yoga is a systematic and consistent study of Vedantic scriptures for a length of time under the guidance of competent guru. When a person goes through this Jnana Yoga, he discovers a very important fact that I am not the body, I am not the mind, but I am the consciousness who is functioning through the body. I am transacting through the body-mind complex. So when body-mind complex dies, I do not die, only the transaction stops. For example, we all experience this regularly during sleep. Both body and mind becomes inactive or passive, but we are not worried of sleep because we know that sleep only ends our transactions. Therefore, I, the consciousness who is behind the body, will not end, but the body ends. Consciousness is ekaha, sarvagataha, satyaha, nityaha, eternal. Swamiji gives an example of hand movements. One will be able to see the movements of hand only because of the all-pervading light. Light is not the one which is moving. Light continues to exist even when the hand is removed. Next slide, sir. Therefore, what does a Jnana Yogi do? Sarva karmani manasa sanyasya. A Jnani renounces all actions. He discovers the fact that I am the actionless Atma. All the actions are transferred to body-mind complex. Another discovery is our own higher self. We have two selves. One is lower inferior I called the ego. The other higher superior absolute I. Now the lower I, the ego, is defined as body, mind, sense complex with the reflected consciousness. So this ego I is karta, bhokta, has got sanchita karma, agami karma. prarabdha karma. Whereas our superior I enlivens this inferior I, which is all pervading and is free from all actions and also their consequences. Therefore, Atma or consciousness is akarta and abhokta. With this knowledge, a Gnani renounces. It is an internal renunciation through detachment. Once I have known that I am immortal Atma, I have learned to accept the body's mortality. When the fear of death is gone, it's a relief. Sukham aste. Next slide, sir. Here's a key word is Vashi. Vashi is a Gnani, a man of control, a man of mastery, one who is having control over his Indriyas. Na eva kurvan na karayan, remains without involving in any action directly or indirectly. He does not do any action. In his presence, the body-mind complex acts. So this Vashi lives in Navadvare Puri, 9-gated community. Here it is 7 openings in head region, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, and 2 openings down for excretion. He lives here more like a guest house for himself. He lives as though it's a temporary abode for himself. He is aware that he is an actor in this dream of life without getting affected much by his actions. Summarizing this beautiful verse, renouncing all actions through knowledge, the self-contained person comfortably lives in the city of 9 gates without doing any action and without instigating anyone. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. This verse now becomes so much more meaningful. It's a very, very popular verse because of the nice example. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasya. So it is a mental renunciation of all actions by whom? Vashe. You have very nicely said this is the key word here. Vashe means a jnani avidvat sannyasi, one who is accomplished, one who's mastered, and one who's gone through all the sadhanas, and one who knows who he is. Such a person now dwells sukhe, easily, comfortably dwells in the city of my body. We have Dehi, the indweller in the Deha. Dehi nosmin yata Dehi. So we have the body and the indweller who lives within this body. Now we may have a confusion about who's the indweller within the body. Of course, we have, once you realize who you are, na eva kurvan na karayan. There is no more action from your side because now you have anchored on the Atma. The Atma is infinite. The Atma is all pervading. And such a person cannot do anything, but you observe the great drama that is happening through your body and mind. The next question will be, how can you say the Jnani now is located in this body? Now the Jnani becomes, or the Atma becomes something located. A Jnani will never say, I am located in the body, because the body is not my location, but my body is everywhere. But a Jnani knows, because of this body-mind medium, I'm able to discover the Atma, I'm able to manifest the all-pervading Atma. So although the Jnani knows that the Atma is all-pervading, just like God is everywhere, God is in the temple also. So too, the Atma is everywhere. The Atma is there in the body also, and I can recognize the Atma Tattva within. Pratibodha viditam matam. In every experience, I become aware of the experiencer. And where do I experience the experiencer? Not outside, but I experience the experiencer within me. The next verse will be explained to us by Dr. Raksha. Over to you, Dr. Raksha.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. This verse 14 is a commentary on the previous verse. Na eva kurvan na karayan. Verse goes this way. Na kartrutvam na karmani Lokasya srujati prabhuhu na karma phala samyogam svabhavastu pravartate. Lokasya, all the living beings in this world, prabhuhu, master. Here it means Atma. Na srujati, does not create. Kartrutvam, doership. Karmani, objects in creation. Karma phala samyogam, interaction between karta and karma phalam. Svabhavastu pravartate, is the innate nature of the body and the mind to be active. Prabhuhu is the moolam, equal to Atma, meaning the capable one, capable of making the Anatma do everything without any will or modification or desire by mere sanidhyam. In this verse, Lord Krishna says, our body, mind, senses are all Anatma, and Anatma is Jadam. Anatma does everything only in the presence of Atma, and it cannot do anything by itself. As shown in this slide, just as in the presence of the magnet, the iron filings are attracted. What are the things it does not create or do? Kartrutvam na srujati. Body, mind, ahankara all have natural doership, and Atma is not responsible for that. Karmani na srujati. Shankaracharya says the word karma here does not mean action. It means objects in creation. Atma does not produce the objects. And thirdly, karma phala samyogam na srujati. Samyogam is the connection or relationship. Connection between karta and karma phalam. Karma phala samyogam can be understood as bhoktrutvam. Then who is responsible for all this? Lord Krishna answers that in the fourth quarter of this verse as Svabhavastu pravartate. Svabhava is one's own nature. Svabhava here means Maya. Only at the realm of Mithya Maya, all the Vyavaharas are taking place. Anatma being a product of Maya, Krishna says Maya alone is the doer and enjoyer. The same Maya or Svabhavaha is called as Apara Prakriti in chapter 7. Mama Maya Daivi Hesha Gunamai. Pujya Swami Paramarthanandaji has given a few examples for this verse. The electricity that passes through different gadgets make them alive. But each of these gadgets function differently. An illustration which is made in this slide. While the light is necessary for a saint and a criminal for their respective actions, but light is not responsible for the saintliness of the saint or the criminality of the criminal. Light remains as a sakshi. To conclude, this verse is dealing with the topic of nididhyasanam, in which we internalize the nature of oneself, Atma Swarupam. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasya. One does not physically renounce the actions. Actions continue at the body-mind level, but being detached from the body-mind complex. Hari Om. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Raksha, for a clear explanation of this, another very important verse. And on the basis of what Dr. Raksha has explained, let us see how we have understood each word of this. One of the index of spiritual evolution is that we stop blaming God or we stop blaming anybody else in our life for all the difficulties that we go through. We realize that life is full of suffering. There is suffering in my life also. And gradually, and this takes a lot of spiritual maturity to be able to say that I am responsible for all the good and the bad in my life. Vidyaranya Swami in the Panchadashi has given us an idea of what is called Ishvara Shrishti and Jiva Shrishti. and very clearly says, as far as Ishvara Shrishti is concerned, there is no problems. The problem is when I interact with the Ishvara Shrishti, when the Ishvara Shrishti enters into the filter of my mind, it becomes my own creation. And this, my creation based on the Ishvara Shrishti, which is the cause of all problems. Swami Dayananda had given us an important phrase, you are the problem. But he also gives us a solution. He says, you are the solution. So through these verses of the Gita, let us see how I can take responsibility for my life and how I can find a solution. Now, where do all the problems come? Now we blame it on the Swabhava. You know, it is the body mind which does everything. Now, is this Maya a blessing or a curse? Now, the more we take Maya as Vyavaharika, Maya as my lower me, it cannot produce any problems. But if I can take Maya as real, it can create all problems. Without Maya, I will not be able to claim I am Aham Brahmasmi. That is why we have to be able to understand Maya, to be able to overcome Maya, to be able to claim our real self. Therefore, Maya is not a curse, but is a blessing. The next verse is again my verse, and I will try to explain it as well as I can. Nadate kaschit papam na chaiva sukrutam vibhuhu ajnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. You will see that this is, although it is one verse, the first line belongs to the previous verse that was explained by Dr. Aksha. There it is said, the nadate kasyat papam, vibhuhu. The key word here is vibhuhu. Vibhuhu is the same as prabhuhu explained earlier. The higher self in me does not incur any papa, does not incur any punya. And the next word is an important diagnosis for all our human suffering. Ajnanena avritam. Avritam means concealing. The discriminating power or the wisdom in me, the jnanam in me is covered by ajnanam. So there is an entity called ajnanam. What is this entity? Let us see. And because of this, tena muhyanti jantava, therefore all of us are deluded, all of us are confused. And because of the confused nature, Sri Krishna refers to all of us confused being as Jantavaha. Jantavaha is the beings that come again and again and again and again. Let us go a little into detail into each word. Vibhuhu means the Atma. Adate, takes. Here it means na adate, does not take papam nor punyam, kaschit of anyone. Jnanam, or the discriminating power in me, is avritam, is concealed by ajnanena. Let us see, what is this ajnanena? Is it an entity? Just like we see when light is there, darkness disappears. What is darkness? Darkness is the absence of light. Now, is ignorance absence of knowledge, or is it an entity? This is something that is always discussed. Swamiji talks about karma yoga is all about doing. Once I know about karma or karma yoga, I get the knowledge of what is karma yoga, right action, right attitude. Now I need to practice this in my life. What is jnana yoga? Jnana yoga is all about knowing. Knowing about my true nature. Once I know about my true nature, once I'm convinced about my true nature, there is nothing else to be done about it. What is that knowing? To know that the real me does not do anything. And if I don't do anything, I don't incur any punya or papa, and therefore I'm akarta, I am abhokta. So the real me has no problems about samsara. The real Atma is asanga swarupa akashavat, like space. This is an important phrase, which is the diagnosis of the cause of all our suffering, very often quoted. Ajnanena avritam jnanam. The truth is, we are all Atma Tattva. But unfortunately, as you see in the picture of Dakshinamurti, there is that apasmara which has been able to conceal. And that is why Sri Dakshinamurti, and therefore when you see this picture all the time, remember to place your leg on the foot, and as you put your foot on the ground, tell yourself, let me be anchored on my higher self. Let me always remember the spiritual truth that I am already that. And it is my body mind that has to play, and it is a role that I have to play. Never take my role seriously, but take my role sincerely. And then the whole life becomes a leela, the whole life becomes a drama. Now, how do we understand that all our problems, or most of our problems, is based upon ignorance? There is a story of two friends, Kuppuswami and Ramaswamy, who go to a bar. And when Kuppuswamy was really drunk, Ramaswamy decides to have a prank with him. And he says, "Oh, Kuppuswamy, I forgot to tell you, before we came here, I went to your house and I found out that your wife has become a widow." When Kuppuswamy heard that his wife has become a widow, he breaks down into tears and is really crying. At that time, another friend from another table comes to Kuppuswamy and says, "Oh, Kuppuswamy, are you crazy or something? How can your wife become a widow when you are still alive?" And he says, "You can ask Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy has gone home and seen and come." Now, my question to all listeners is, when Kuppuswamy is crying with sorrow that his wife has become a widow, in his drunkenness, is his suffering real? See, the basis of his suffering may not be real, but in his drunkenness, his suffering is real. Just like when you are going through a nightmare in a dream, you may scream, you may shout, you may sweat, your heart may be beating rapidly, but then there is no cause for that in the real world. And what happens the moment you wake up, the moment knowledge comes, what happens? Suffering disappears at once. And that is the wisdom of all Vedanta, is to wake up. And when you wake up, you realize you are already that which you are looking for. We know the famous story of the Dashamaha Nasti, when the 10 boys cross the river, and when they come back, they're very anxious to see all of them are there. In their anxiety of counting, they count everybody excluding themselves, and they get into a great panic that the 10th man is missing. From then on, all of them are looking for the 10th man until they find a guru, and a guru is able to tell them, Dashamaha Asti. And when they ask them, where is that thing that I'm looking for, which is the cause of all my sorrow, the teacher says, Tat Tvam Asi. That means whatever I am seeking, I am already that. That is our path, and that is because of Ajnanena Avritam Tena Muhyanti Jantavaha. So what is our sadhana therefore? Yat Sakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye. And once you wake up, all our job is to wake up. The next verse, which is the answer to the problem that I just said, will be explained to by Radha. Over to you.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Jnanena tu tadajnanam esham nashitamatmanaha tesham adityavajnanam prakashayati tatparam. First, I'll go for the literary translation of the meaning of this verse. It says, but for those in whom this ignorance of the self is destroyed by divine knowledge, that knowledge reveals the supreme entity just as the sun illumines everything. Now, any illusion can happen only in darkness or ignorance. Darkness is responsible for creating the illusion. In darkness, we often mistake something for something else. Without giving the example of rope and a snake, Vedanta class is incomplete. So in darkness, always we mistake the rope for a snake. Similarly, due to ignorance or clouding of consciousness, We identify ourselves with our bodies, mind, and so many other things, and also as the karta and the bhokta, that is doer and the enjoyer. All these identifications come due to ignorance alone. But the moment the sun rises in the morning, the night has to exit. Such is the power of the light of the sun. Actually, the sun never rises or sets. It appears so to us because the earth is rotating on its axis. So now in the night, when there is darkness or when there is moonlight, we see darkness, right? So what is this moonlight? Moonlight is again nothing but the borrowed light of the sun. So in the light of the sun, both darkness and light are seen. So sun is always compared to Atma Shakti within us. Similarly, in the light of consciousness only, our ignorance is also illumined. Supreme reality becomes self-evident when the clouds or the veil of ignorance is removed by divine knowledge. Just as the sun becomes evident in his own light and he illumines himself, and also everything else also becomes known in his light alone. So in the light of consciousness alone, we know ourselves and everything else. When we say that we know something or we do not know something, both knowing and not knowing are illumined by the same conscious principle within us. In the same light of consciousness, we know, and also we know that we do not know. Only when we go beyond knowing, not knowing, darkness, light, ignorance, knowledge, all these dualities, when we go beyond these dualities, our attention shifts to the consciousness principle. Just like Dr. Hegde said, that being in the beginning of the class, he said, let your awareness be your discipline. So when we shift our awareness to this consciousness principle, which is showing both the knowledge and ignorance, light and darkness, which is illumining both the things, only then there is a true sunrise in the seeker's life. Hari Om.
Thank you, Radha, for a nice explanation of this verse. Again, we need the light of Sri Dakshinamurti because all our problems, Ajnanam is Avritam. Jnanam is Avritam. Because the problem is ignorance, the solution will be to destroy the ignorance of our true nature. That is the real thing that we need to know, that who I am. And this can be destroyed by the knowledge, and that knowledge is like the light of the sun. The last verse for today will be explained to us by Mamta. Over to you, Mamta.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Tad buddhayastadaatmanaha tannishthaastatparayanaha gacchantya punaravrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. In the next slide, Krishna talks about various stages of sadhanas in the path to the knowledge that is answered in the following questions in this verse. First one, what is the prescription for the ultimate goal in life? Second, how to attain the goal and identify with it. Followed by how to stay steady and anchor yourself in the knowledge. Finally, what is the outcome of gaining this knowledge? In the next slide, every individual is a combination of the lower self, ego or ahankara, and the higher self, which is atma. Identifying with the ego makes us depend on external factors to be happy and secure. However, the right attitude is that I should be happy and secure in spite of various external conditions. This attitude is called the inner freedom or discovery of the higher self. This discovery of the higher self is termed as Purnatvam, which is also called as Brahman. This is the state where we are comfortable in facing all the challenges of life that is thrown at us, even if the nature of the situation is good, bad, or worse. Once you have clearly understood and convinced of the bliss or joy associated in this state, the effort we put in our life will be to change ourselves from the dependent lower self to the independent higher self. This makes us a spiritual seeker who has realized the need for self-transformation, which is the ultimate goal in life. That is Tat Parayanaha. In the next slide, realizing self-transformation as the ultimate goal, we come to our next question. How to attain the goal, that is the knowledge of Brahman. Practicing the fourfold qualification, that is discrimination, dispassion, freedom from desire, and discipline, gives us a purified and calm mind to practice Jnana Yoga, which is a systematic study of our scriptures. In this context, Shravanam, Mananam stages of Jnana Yoga is practiced to gain knowledge of our higher nature, Tad Buddhaya, that is self-knowledge or Atma Jnana. In the next slide, Krishna says, in spite of gaining this self-knowledge, we continue to identify with our lower egoistic self. We identify with I as a father, as a mother, husband, wife, and so on. We tend to forget about our true essential nature. Krishna says, Tadatmanaha, which means identify with the higher self. We have to train ourselves, our mind, to switch the identification from the lower I. This means to renounce all kinds of lower I identifications, including the notion that I have renounced everything. Krishna emphasizes you have to train your mind to play the role of mother instead of identifying with the mother as I. Similarly, play the role of a father, son, wife, so on, without identifying with I. This is called Nididhyasanam, that gives the Vedantic clarity. In the next slide, our next question is how to stay anchored in that knowledge of the self. The practice of Nididhyasanam helps in this process. That is, you repeatedly meditate or train your mind that this body, mind, sense organs are all incidental media or instruments. I, the consciousness or the higher self, is behind these instruments. This brings a change in attitude from lower I to the higher self. And when this transformation is complete, we are established in our higher nature. That is Aham Brahmasmi, and that is called Tanishtaha. This constant, effortless awareness of Brahman is known as Brahmanishta or Jnananishta. In the next slide, our final question is, what is the outcome of gaining this knowledge? Krishna says, Jnana Nirdhuta Kalmashaha, ignorance of self, doubting, and habitual body identification of vasanas are referred to as impurities or kalmashaha in this context. A tanishta is free from all the impurities which are wiped out, nirdhutam, by the power of knowledge. Such people enjoy Jivan Mukti, that is a state of infinite existence consciousness bliss. When all our existing karmas from the past lives is exhausted and the body eventually gives up, these tanishtas have no punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam cycle. That is, they attain videha mukti, apunara vrittim gacchanti. In the last slide, I would like to end with a quote from Rumi, which aptly talks about transforming ourselves from the lower I to the higher self. Rumi says, and I quote, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Thank you, Mamta, for a nice explanation of a verse which is absolutely loaded. Everything in Jnana Yoga is there, including the sadhanas and the benefits that you can get. So if I have to put it again, although you've explained it, first is to be able to value the truth. Why am I pursuing Jnana Yoga? then is to know the truth. Now, all of us have come to this extent. We value it. That's why we spend so much time in Jnana Yoga and Shastric studies. We also know there is a lower I and there is a higher I in all of us. The real problem is how many of us are able to claim that I am the higher I, not only in class, but in all our transactions. That is the important third step, to be able to claim I am that. Fourth and very important is to be able to abide in it, to be in a nishta, tanishta all the time, especially in difficult moments when things are not going your way, if I'm able to anchor on the truth. And then jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha, the impurity of losing this identification and logging on to the triangular format, that is gone. And if such a person is a jnana nishtaha, there is of course no coming back. There is no coming back to this world of becoming. In the next class, we will have 5 more verses. And again, all these are very loaded verses. Both Swamiji and in the Shankara Bhashyam, these verses are very, very extensive, because how does a jnani look at himself? A jnani is able to discover the Atma in himself, and because he's able to see the Atma in himself, he's able to see the Atma in everybody. And once he's able to see the Atma, you see differences, but what happens? You do not differentiate. You have a lot of loaded verses like this, that liberation is possible here and now. You have a verse which brings about the sthita prajna. It is not situations that make me ecstatic or depressed, but if I am being able to be in the truth. And then there is also certain warning, how you can be established in the truth. And if you're able to be established in the truth, the knower of Brahman becomes Brahman himself. But on the other hand, samsparshaja bhoga. But if a person is involved in contact pleasures, then you have a problem. There is the downfall. These are the 5 verses for the next class. We will conclude today's class by the chanting of these verses by Master Anant. Anant is only 6 years old and he has memorized all these verses, so he will chant it for us. Over to you, Anant and Panaga.
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sarva Karmani Manasa Sanyasya Sukham Vasi Navadvare Pure Dehi Naiva Kurvanna Karayan Nakartrutvam Nakarmani Lokasya Srijati Prabhu Nakarma Phala Samyogam Svabhavastu Pravartate Nadatte Kasya Chit Papam Nachaiva Sukrutam Vibhu Agnanena Vritam Gnanam Tena Muhyanti Jantavaha Gnanena tu tadagnanam Yesham nasitamatmanaha Teshamaditya vagnanam Prakashayati tatparam Tadbuddhayastadaatmanaha Tannishthastatparayanaha Gacchantya punaravritta Nana nirdhuta kalmashaha. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Beautiful, Anant. Thank you for the beautiful chanting. Thank you all speakers of the day for the wonderful presentations, and pranams to Dr. Hegde sir for guiding us through the class so nicely. We will study next set of verses of 5th chapter in our coming session. Please log in by 6:45 p.m. on Friday evening. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. हरि ओम